Admiral Wu Jinu stood on the observation deck of the space station, watching ships move between Earth and the Valeth homeworld of Thesara. 3 years had passed since humans first met aliens, and everything had changed. The Galactic Council ruled over 12 different alien species across known space. They controlled trade, decided who could live where, and settled fights between worlds. Most council members looked at humans like they were children who needed watching. The Nexari were warriors who thought humans were too weak. The Zeltan cared only about money and saw humans as poor customers. But the Valeth were different. They welcomed humans with open arms and shared their knowledge freely. "The morning shift reports are ready, Admiral," said Dr. Hana Yoon as she walked up beside him. She was Earth's best expert on alien life, and had spent more time with the Valeth than anyone else. Her dark hair was tied back in a simple ponytail, and she carried a data pad filled with reports from their joint projects. Wu Jinu nodded and took the pad. The numbers were good. Human engineers and Valeth scientists were working together better than anyone had hoped. They were building new types of shields that were stronger than anything either species could make alone. New ships, new weapons, new ways to travel between stars, everything was moving forward fast. Captain Kai Min sent word from the Aegis, Hana continued. The test flight of the new engine design worked perfectly. We can now travel twice as fast as before. The Admiral smiled. Captain Kai Min commanded Earth's first real warship, built with both human and Valeth technology. The Aegis was not the biggest ship in space, but it was smart and fast. More importantly, it showed that humans and Valeth could work as a team. Down on Thesara, the main city sparkled in the morning sun. Tall buildings made of blue crystal reached toward the sky. Valeth moved through the streets on their 6 legs, their long necks turning to look at everything around them. They were peaceful people who loved to learn and explore. Between them walked humans in work clothes, carrying tools and talking with their alien friends about the day's projects. Wu Jinu had made many friends among the Valeth during his time here. They did not see humans as weak or poor. They saw them as partners. The Valeth leader, Elder Thalion, often said that humans brought new ways of thinking that made old problems easier to solve. "The council meeting is next week," Hana said quietly. "Ambassador Nari Jin thinks they might vote on the new trade rules." The Admiral's smile faded. The Galactic Council had been watching the human-Valeth partnership with growing worry. Some council members thought humans were getting too strong too fast. They wanted to put limits on what technology could be shared and where humans could build colonies. "What does our intelligence say?" Wu Jinu asked. "Commander Arya Day has been listening to council communications. She thinks the Nexari and Zelthan are planning something. They have been meeting in secret and moving ships to new positions." This news made the Admiral feel cold inside. The Nexari Empire controlled the biggest military force in known space. The Zelthan Syndicate had the most money and resources. If they worked together against humans and Valeth, things could get very bad very quickly. A message signal beeped from the communication system. The face of Elder Thalion appeared on the screen. His large, gentle eyes looked worried. "Admiral Wu Jinu, my friend," the Elder said in his careful English. "We have received some difficult news from our people in the outer colonies. Council patrol ships have been asking many questions about our work with humans. They want to know about our new technologies and where our combined military ships are located." Wu Jinu felt his stomach tighten. "What kind of questions, Elder?" "They ask about shield frequencies, weapon types, ship numbers. They say it is for normal record keeping, but..." Thalion paused. "My people have learned to be careful when warriors ask too many questions about our defenses. The Valeth had lived through one war already, many years ago, when another species tried to take their worlds. They had survived by being smart and careful, not by fighting. That experience taught them to watch for danger signs. We should meet," the Admiral said. "All of our military leaders need to hear this." 2 hours later, the main conference room was full. Captain Kai Min had returned from his test flight. Commander Arya Dai brought her intelligence reports. Dr. Hana Yoon sat with data about the joint technology projects. Elder Thalion joined them by video link from the planet below. "The pattern is clear," Commander Arya said as she showed them star maps. "Council ships have been moving into attack positions around Valeth space. They are not trying to hide it very well, which makes me think they want us to see them." "A show of force," Captain Kai Min said. "They want to scare us into backing down. Or they want us to do something stupid," Admiral Wu Jinu replied. "If we move our ships into defensive positions, they can say we are being aggressive. Elder Thalian's image nodded sadly. This is an old game, my friends. The strong make the weak choose between surrender and destruction. But there is a third choice they do not expect. What choice is that? Hana asked. To be stronger than they think, the elder replied. Your people have surprised everyone before. Perhaps it is time to surprise them again. The admiral looked around the room at the faces of his team. These were good people, humans and Valeth working together for a better future. The council wanted to end that cooperation because they feared what it might become. Outside the window, more ships moved between the two worlds. Trade vessels carried new inventions. Passenger ships brought families to visit friends on distant planets. Military escorts kept everyone safe from pirates and other dangers. It was a good life, a peaceful life. But peace only lasted when strong people were willing to defend it. Commander Arya, the admiral said finally, I want complete intelligence on all council military movements. Find out exactly what they are planning and when. Captain Kai Min, get the Aegis ready for immediate departure. We may need to move fast. Dr. Yoon, contact our friends on Earth, tell them to prepare for trouble. As the meeting ended, Admiral Wu Jinu stayed behind with Elder Thalian's image still on the screen. My friend, the elder said softly, I fear dark days are coming. Then we will face them together, the admiral replied. That is what allies do. But deep in his heart, Wu Jinu wondered if friendship would be enough when the storm finally came. The attack came at dawn on Thesara. Commander Arya Day was at her hidden monitoring station in the asteroid belt when the first council ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel. She watched her screens in horror as hundreds of Nexari and Zelthan warships surrounded the Veleth homeworld. This is Commander Day to all human vessels, she transmitted on the emergency channel. Council battle fleet has arrived at Thesara. Repeat, we have a massive hostile force incoming. But her warning came too late. The council ships opened fire without sending any messages. No demands for surrender, no time for negotiation. Just death from space. Arya watched the orbital bombardment begin. Bright flashes lit up the planet's surface as energy beams struck the cities. The beautiful crystal buildings that had reached toward the sky for thousands of years crumbled to dust in minutes. Recording everything, she whispered to herself, knowing this might be the only proof of what really happened. Her instruments captured every detail. The systematic targeting of civilian areas, the destruction of hospitals and schools, the burning of the great libraries where Valeth had stored their knowledge for generations. On the planet below, chaos ruled the streets. Valeth families ran for emergency shelters that no longer existed. Parents carried their young ones toward escape ships that were already burning wreckage. The lucky few who reached underground bunkers found themselves trapped, as more bombs fell from above. Admiral Wu Jinu was aboard the human research station orbiting Thesara when the shooting started. He rushed to the command center and demanded immediate contact with the council fleet. This is Admiral Wu Jinu of Earth Defense Force, he broadcast. Cease fire immediately. There are civilian populations down there. Cease fire! The response came from Chairman Vectar himself, the leader of the Galactic Council. His cold voice filled the communication channel. Admiral Wu Jinu, you and all other human personnel have 12 minutes to evacuate the system. This is not a request. Chairman, the Veleth are not military targets. They are peaceful people. Stop this attack. 12 minutes, Admiral. Use them wisely. The channel went dead. Wu Jinu stared at the communication panel, his hands shaking with rage. 12 minutes. They were giving humans just 12 minutes to watch their friends die and run away. Sir, called his communications officer. Emergency messages coming in from all over the planet. Veleth are requesting immediate evacuation assistance. How many can we save? The Admiral asked. Our ships can carry maybe 2,000 people. There are 40 million Veleth on Thesara. The truth hit him like a physical blow. The Council was not just attacking the Veleth. They were making humans watch helplessly while it happened. This was a lesson, a demonstration of power designed to break human spirits. Down on the planet, Elder Thalian was in the capital city when the bombs started falling. He had been meeting with other Veleth leaders about the growing council threat. Now those same leaders were dead, their meeting hall reduced to burning rubble. The old Veleth moved through the destroyed streets, helping injured people reach the few remaining evacuation points. His own escape ship had been destroyed in the first wave of attacks, but he did not think about saving himself. He thought about the children who were crying in the ruins, the families who would never see each other again. A human rescue ship landed near the broken spaceport. Captain Kai Min jumped out with his crew, loading as many Valeth as they could carry. Elder Thalion, Kai Min shouted over the noise of explosions. "We have room for you." The elder shook his head. "Save the young ones first. I am old, Captain. My time here is ending anyway." "No one gets left behind," Kai Min said firmly. "That is what humans believe." But even as he spoke, both of them knew it was not true today. Thousands were being left behind. Thousands were dying while their human friends could do nothing but run. Ambassador Narration was at the council headquarters on Nexus Prime when the attack began. She burst into the main chamber where the 12 council leaders were meeting. "Stop this," she shouted. "The Valeth have done nothing wrong. They are not rebels or terrorists. They are scientists and farmers and teachers." Chairman Vectar looked at her with dead eyes. The Valeth forgot their place in the galactic order. They helped humans grow too strong too fast. This correction was necessary. Correction? Narration could barely speak. "You are committing genocide." "We are maintaining peace," said the Nexari representative, his warrior's voice showing no emotion. "The strong rule, the weak obey. This has always been the way." The Zelthan delegate nodded agreement. The human-Valeth partnership was disrupting established trade routes and political relationships. Market stability required intervention. Narration looked around the chamber at the faces of beings who could order the death of an entire world and call it business. "You are monsters." "We are pragmatists," Chairman Vectar replied. "And you, Ambassador, would do well to remember that Earth depends on our goodwill for survival." Back at Thesara, the bombardment continued for 6 hours. Commander Arya Day recorded every minute of it. She watched refugee ships trying to escape the planet, only to be shot down by council fighters. She saw medical stations with clear rescue markings destroyed by precise missile strikes. She witnessed the systematic execution of an entire civilization. By the time the guns finally stopped, the planet was silent. 40 million Valeth had been reduced to fewer than 50,000 survivors, scattered across a dozen human rescue ships. The beautiful world that had welcomed humanity with open arms was now a dead rock, floating in space. Admiral Wu. Jinu received one final message from Chairman Vectar as the human ships prepared to leave the system. "Admiral, I trust this demonstration has been educational. The Galactic Council has existed for 10,000 years. We have seen many young species try to upset the natural order. They all learned eventually to know their place. Humanity will learn the same lesson." The Admiral's response was quiet but clear. "Chairman, I want you to remember this day. Remember that you forced humans to watch our friends die. Remember that you gave us 12 minutes to save 40 million people. Remember that you called it a lesson. And what lesson do you think you have learned, Admiral?" Wu Jinu looked out at the dead world below, thinking of Elder Thalion and all the other Valeth who would never see another sunrise. "I learned that the Galactic Council is willing to commit murder to stay in power. I learned that peace only exists when evil people allow it. And I learned that sometimes, Admiral, the students teach the teachers." He cut the communication and turned to his crew. "Take us home. We have work to do." As the human ships jumped to faster-than-light travel, Commander Arya Dai finished copying her recordings. Every detail of the massacre was now stored in multiple locations. The Council thought they had taught humanity a lesson about power. They had no idea what lesson humanity had actually learned. The survivors would remember. The recordings would survive, and somewhere in the dark between stars, plans were already being made for the day when the students would become the teachers. The Galactic Council had made their first mistake. They had shown humans exactly who they really were. Admiral Wu Jinu had been back on Earth for only 3 days when the message came. No identification, no official seal, just coordinates and a time. He was told to come alone to a location in the mountains outside Geneva. The galaxy expected humans to hide after what happened at Thesara. Council intelligence services were watching for signs that Earth might try something stupid, like revenge. They saw human diplomats making angry speeches and human news channels calling for justice. What they did not see was the real response. The coordinates led to an old military base built into the mountain itself. Guards at the entrance wore no uniforms or rank markings, but their eyes had the look of soldiers who had seen combat. They scanned the Admiral with advanced sensors and waved him through without a word. Deep underground, past security doors that could stop a nuclear blast, Admiral Wu found himself in a situation room that should not have existed. The walls were covered with star maps showing every Council world and military base. Computer screens displayed ship movements, weapons specifications, and tactical analyses. This was not some secret government office. This was a war room that had been planning for years. "Admiral Wu Jinu," said a voice from the shadows. "Welcome to the Real Earth Defense Force." The speaker stepped into the light. General Han Mira was a legend among military officers. She had commanded Earth's space forces during the early exploration years, and had supposedly retired after humans made contact with aliens. But here she was, very much not retired, wearing a black uniform with no national flags or symbols. "General Han," the Admiral said carefully, "I thought you were dead?" "Retired? Officially, yes. Unofficially, I have been very busy preparing for this day." She gestured to the screens around them. "We call it the Black Fleet Project. Insurance against exactly what happened to our Valeth friends." Two other people joined them at the central planning table. One was Dr. Yuna Tay, a quantum physics expert who had supposedly been working on peaceful energy research. The other was a man the Admiral did not recognize, tall and quiet with scars on his hands that spoke of military service. "This is Director Park," General Han explained. "He speaks for the group that has been funding and planning this operation since first contact with the Council." Director Park nodded but said nothing. His eyes were the coldest the Admiral had ever seen, like someone who had already decided to do terrible things and made peace with that decision. "What exactly is the Black Fleet Project?" Admiral Wu asked. Dr. Unite answered by activating a holographic display. Ships appeared in the air above the table, warships unlike anything the Admiral had seen before. They were sleek and dark, built for speed and stealth rather than the show of force that most Council vessels preferred. 12 dreadnoughts, she said, 43 destroyers, and the crown jewel, the Retribution. The largest ship appeared in the display, massive and threatening. "We have been building them in secret bases in the outer system, using modified Valeth technology combined with our own innovations." "The Valeth knew about this?" "Elder Thalion knew," General Han replied. "He understood that peace only lasts when good people are ready to fight for it. His people shared their shield technology freely. They also shared their knowledge of Council military weaknesses." The Admiral stared at the holographic fleet. "How many people know about this?" "Fewer than 500 across the entire project," Director Park said, speaking for the first time. His voice was quiet but carried absolute authority. "Engineers, pilots, weapons specialists, all volunteers. All people who understood that humanity might need to defend itself against a galaxy that sees us as either servants or threats." Dr. Yuna Tay touched another control in the display, changed to show weapon specifications. "The Council's main advantage has always been their energy shields. Standard weapons just bounce off them, but I have developed something they have never seen before." New images appeared, torpedoes that seemed to flicker in and out of existence. "Quantum disruption torpedoes. They phase in and out of normal space, allowing them to pass through energy shields as if those shields do not exist. When they detonate inside an enemy ship," she paused, "the results are very effective." "You built weapons specifically designed to kill Council ships," the Admiral said. "We built weapons specifically designed to protect humanity," General Han corrected. "The fact that they will be very good at killing Council ships is a side benefit." Director Park activated another display showing tactical plans. "We have been studying Council military doctrine for 3 years. We know how they think, how they fight, where their bases are located. More importantly, we know which Council members supported the Thessera operation." The Admiral looked at the names and locations scrolling past. Every detail had been planned with frightening precision. This was not just military preparation. This was preparation for a specific kind of war. "This is not defense," he said slowly. "This is revenge." "Yes," General Han replied without shame. "The Council destroyed our friends to teach us a lesson about power. We are going to teach them a lesson about consequences." A new person entered the room, someone the Admiral recognized. Commander Arya Day looked different in her black uniform, but her eyes held the same intelligence that had made her such an effective spy. "Commander," the Admiral said, "you are part of this too?" "I have been part of this since the beginning," she replied. "Someone had to gather intelligence on Council military capabilities. Those recordings I made of the Thessara massacre, they were not just for evidence. They were tactical analysis of Council attack patterns and weapon systems." She activated her own display showing ship movements across the galaxy. The Council thinks they have won. They are moving their fleets back to normal patrol patterns. They believe humans will spend years mourning and rebuilding while they get back to business as usual. They are wrong, Director Park said simply. General Han walked to the largest display and brought up a timeline. The Black Fleet will launch in 72 hours. Our targets are not random. We will strike every Council military installation that participated in the Thesara operation. We will capture every Council official who voted for that attack, and we will make sure the galaxy understands that genocide has consequences. What about Earth? The Admiral asked. The Council will retaliate. The Council will try to retaliate, Dr. Unite corrected. But they will discover that Earth has more defenses than they know about. Orbital platforms, automated weapons systems, shield generators powerful enough to protect entire continents. We have been preparing for siege warfare since the day we learned aliens existed. The Admiral looked around the room at these people who had been planning for war while everyone else hoped for peace. Part of him was horrified by the scale of preparation. Part of him was impressed by their foresight. Why are you telling me this now? He asked. Because the Black Fleet needs a commander, General Han replied. Someone the crews will follow into hell if necessary. Someone who has seen what the Council is capable of and decided that it cannot be allowed to continue. She held out a data pad containing fleet assignments and tactical plans. The question is simple, Admiral. Are you willing to command humanity's vengeance? Wu Jinu thought about Elder Thalion, dying in the ruins of his city while human ships carried away the few survivors they could save. He thought about 40 million Velith murdered to send a message about power. He thought about Chairman Vectar's cold voice explaining that strong species rule and weak species obey. He took the datapad. When do we launch? 72 hours, Director Park replied. The hunt begins at dawn. Outside the mountain, Earth looked peaceful in the afternoon sun. Normal people were going about their normal lives, unaware that humanity was about to declare war on the galaxy's most powerful military alliance. But in the depths of space, dark ships were already moving toward their targets. The Galactic Council had taught humanity a lesson about power. Now humanity would teach them a lesson about consequences. Captain Jinlia had been hunting Council ships for 2 weeks, and they still had no idea she existed. The Shadow Strike was humanity's deadliest creation, a destroyer built for stealth and precision killing. Its hull absorbed sensor beams instead of reflecting them. Its engines ran so quietly that even sensitive listening equipment could not detect them. It moved through space like a ghost, leaving only wreckage behind. Target acquired, reported her weapons officer, Lieutenant Juan Beck. Council patrol vessel, Nexari heavy cruiser, currently scanning the debris field from our last engagement. Through the viewport, Jinlia could see the alien ship moving slowly through space where another Council vessel had died 3 days ago. The Nexari were trying to figure out what had destroyed their patrol. They were about to learn firsthand. Range? She asked quietly. 8,000 kilometers in closing. They still show no sign of detecting us. Load quantum disruption torpedoes. Target their engine room and bridge simultaneously. The Shadow Strike had been specifically designed to fight Council ships. Every weapon, every system, every piece of technology was focused on one goal: killing aliens who thought humans were weak. Torpedoes loaded and ready. Captain. Jinlia watched the Nexari cruiser through her targeting scope. Somewhere on that ship were warriors who had probably participated in the Thesara massacre. They had killed her Velith friends and expected no consequences. Fire. 2 torpedoes phased out of normal space and passed through the Nexari ship's shields like they were not there. The first one materialized inside the engine room and detonated, crippling the vessel's power systems. The second appeared on the bridge and eliminated the command crew in a flash of destructive energy. The alien ship went dark and began tumbling through space, its hull torn open in multiple places. No survivors, no distress signals, no evidence of what had killed them except scattered wreckage. Target destroyed, Lieutenant Juan reported. Shall we wait for their reinforcements? No, Jinlia replied. We have more hunting to do. The Shadow Strike vanished back into the darkness between stars, leaving behind another mystery for Council intelligence services to puzzle over. They were starting to realize that something was systematically destroying their ships, but they had no idea what or how many vessels were involved. Meanwhile, Commander Hio Kira was leading a very different kind of operation. Her Void Hunters Special Forces unit specialized in boarding and capturing enemy installations rather than destroying them. The galaxy needed to hear certain truths, and dead aliens could not talk. "Breach successful," reported Sergeant Nam Jun as his team blasted through the airlock of a council listening post. The small station had been monitoring communications in this sector for years, gathering intelligence on species that might pose threats to council authority. The aliens inside, a mix of Zelthan and Nexari personnel, tried to resist, but human soldiers moved too fast for them. Stun weapons dropped the defenders without killing them, leaving them alive for questioning. "Data core secured," called Corporal Lee Hin from the computer center. "All files downloaded and ready for transmission." But Commander Hio was more interested in the station's commanding officer, a Nexari general named Corvin who had been caught trying to destroy classified records. She found him in his office, his forearms still reaching for the deletion controls when her team stunned him. 20 minutes later, the general was awake and facing human soldiers with very serious expressions. Commander Hio activated a recording device and began asking questions. "General Corvin, you were present at the council meeting that authorized the Thesara operation. Tell me about that decision." "I will tell you nothing, human," the general snarled. "The council does not negotiate with inferior species." "You are not negotiating," Commander Hio replied calmly. "You are confessing. The recording devices are already running. You can choose to tell the truth voluntarily, or we can use drugs that will make you tell the truth involuntarily. Either way, the galaxy is going to hear what really happened." An hour later, the galaxy was indeed hearing what really happened. The recording of General Corvin's confession was being broadcast on every communication channel that humans could access. His voice, speaking in clear galactic standard language, described how the Council had planned the Thesera attack for months. The Velith were becoming too close to the humans, his recorded voice explained. Their combined technology was advancing too rapidly. The Council decided that an example had to be made before other species began to think they could challenge the established order. The broadcast continued with more shocking revelations. The attack had been planned as a demonstration, not a military necessity. The systematic targeting of civilians had been intentional, designed to maximize psychological impact. The 12-minute evacuation notice for humans had been calculated to ensure they would watch helplessly while their friends died. Across the galaxy, species that had always feared the Council began to realize that their worst suspicions had been correct. The rulers of known space were not protectors maintaining peace. They were conquerors maintaining control through terror. The Council's response was swift and massive. Fleet Admiral Traktor of the Nexari Empire assembled 50 of their best warships and set course for the human positions in Velith space. This was far more firepower than had been used to destroy Thesara. It should have been enough to crush any. Resistance Admiral Wu Jinu was waiting for them, with 8 ships from the Black Fleet. The Battle of Koldar began when the Nexari fleet dropped out of faster than light travel, expecting to find helpless human refugees. Instead, they found the Retribution and 7 escort vessels arranged in combat formation. The massive human battle carrier was 3 times larger than any ship the Nexari had brought, its hull bristling with weapons they had never seen before. "This is Admiral Wu Jinu of the Earth Defense Force," came the transmission to the Nexari fleet. "You have entered this system with hostile intent. You will surrender immediately or be destroyed." Fleet Admiral Traktor's response was to order an immediate attack. 50 Nexari warships opened fire simultaneously, their energy weapons creating a light show that could be seen from neighboring star systems. The human ships vanished. Stealth, technology that the Council had never encountered, turned the Black Fleet invisible to Nexari sensors. The aliens found themselves shooting at empty space while quantum disruption torpedoes materialized inside their shields and tore their ships apart from within. The Retribution reappeared directly above the Nexari flagship and opened fire with weapons that defied everything the Council thought they knew about military technology. Beams of pure energy cut through the alien vessel's armor like it was paper. Secondary explosions rippled along the ship's hull as internal systems overloaded and failed. "Impossible," Fleet Admiral Traktor broadcast on all frequencies. "Our shields are rated to stop any known weapon." "Your shields were not designed to stop unknown weapons," Admiral Wu replied as another Nexari ship exploded nearby. "Your mistake was assuming humans would limit themselves to technology you understand." The battle lasted 47 minutes. When it ended, space around Koldar was filled with the wreckage of 50 Nexari warships. Every human vessel survived, though several showed damage from the engagement. Fleet Admiral Traktor's ship was captured rather than destroyed. The Nexari commander found himself in the same position as General Corvin, facing human soldiers with recording equipment and very pointed questions about Council war crimes. Captain Jin Lia received new orders as reports of the battle spread across the galaxy. The Shadow Strike and her sister ships were to begin hunting not just military targets, but also the civilian leaders who had voted for genocide. Council members think they are safe in their home systems, Admiral Wu's message explained. They believe their personal guard fleets will protect them from consequences. Show them how wrong they are. The hunt expanded. Human ships appeared without warning in supposedly secure council space. Government officials who had ordered the deaths of 40 million, Phalith found themselves looking at human weapons and answering very uncomfortable questions about their decisions. Each captured official provided more evidence of the conspiracy. Each recorded confession revealed more details about how the genocide had been planned and executed. The broadcasts were reaching species across the galaxy, many of whom had never known the true nature of their rulers. The Zelthon Syndicate tried to buy their way out of the war, offering vast sums of money and trade concessions. The human response was to capture their treasury ships and distribute the contents to refugee populations that had suffered under council rule. The remaining council members began to realize that they were facing something they had never encountered before, a species that fought wars not for territory or resources but for justice. Humans did not want to rule the galaxy. They wanted to punish the rulers who had committed murder and call it peace, emergency. Sessions were called on Nexus Prime. Military advisors who had promised easy victory over primitive humans found themselves trying to explain how 8 human ships had destroyed 50 of their best vessels. Intelligence services that had dismissed Earth's military potential were forced to admit they had been completely wrong. But the humans were not finished. Fleet Admiral Luna Han stood on the bridge of the Retribution, watching Nexus Prime grow larger on the main display. The Council's central world was a gleaming jewel hanging in space, its surface covered with the towers and palaces of beings who had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. Behind her, the entire Black Fleet moved in perfect formation. 12 dreadnoughts, 43 destroyers, and dozens of support vessels. The hidden strength of humanity finally revealed in all its terrible glory. This was the force that had been built in secret while the Council believed humans were weak and grateful for their permission to exist. Fleet status report, she commanded. All ships report. Ready for combat, replied her communications officer, Commander Parkrina. Quantum disruption torpedoes loaded, stealth systems operational, defensive screens at maximum power, and the surrender offer? Still being transmitted from the Council chambers, Admiral. Chairman Vectar is requesting immediate negotiations. Luna Han smiled coldly. 3 months ago, the same chairman had given Admiral Wu Jinu 12 minutes to evacuate Thesara, while 40 million Valeth died. Now he wanted to talk. The offer had come through official channels 8 hours ago, when Council sensors first detected the Black Fleet approaching their home system. They were willing to pay reparations for the Thesara genocide. They would acknowledge that their actions had been wrong. They would even grant humanity a permanent seat among the ruling species of the galaxy. All they asked in return was mercy. Open a channel to Earth, Admiral Luna ordered. I need to speak with President Rena Jun. The communication link connected her directly to the presidential office in Geneva. President Rena Jun appeared on the screen, her face showing the strain of leading humanity through its first interstellar war. Behind her stood General Han Mira and Director Park, the architects of the Black Fleet project. Admiral Luna, the president said, the Council's surrender offer has been transmitted to every major news service in the galaxy. They are trying to make themselves look reasonable while making us look like the aggressors. What are your orders, Madam President? President Rena Jun was quiet for a long moment, looking at something off-screen. When she spoke again, her voice carried the weight of history. The Council destroyed our friends to teach us our place in their galactic order. We accept the lesson. Our place is as the species that remembers. Our place is as the voice for those who can no longer speak. Our place is as the promise that genocide has consequences. She paused, then continued with absolute certainty. Admiral, you are authorized to proceed with the operation. Show them what happens when someone murders 40 million innocent beings and calls it politics. The communication ended. Admiral Luna Han turned back to her crew and gave the order that would change galactic history. All ships begin final approach. Target only military installations and government facilities. Civilian areas are off limits. We are not here to commit genocide. We are here to end the ability of others to commit it. The Black Fleet moved toward Nexus Prime like a storm made of metal and death. Council defense platforms opened fire first, their massive energy cannons lighting up space with destructive power. But human stealth technology made most of their shots miss completely, while quantum disruption torpedoes passed through their shields and destroyed them from within. The first wave of attackers reached the orbital shipyards where Council warships were built. These massive facilities had been producing instruments of oppression for thousands of years. In 30 minutes, they were burning wreckage floating in space. Chairman Vectar's voice filled all communication channels, broadcasting to the galaxy. This is an unprovoked attack on the seat of galactic government. Humanity has revealed its true nature as a violent, aggressive species that cannot be allowed to threaten civilized worlds. The response came not from Admiral Luna Han, but from the bridge of Captain Jin Lia's destroyer. Her ship had captured the Council's main communication center, and now human soldiers were broadcasting something very different to the galaxy. The recordings began to play. General Corvin admitting the Thesara attack was planned months in advance. Fleet Admiral Tractor describing how civilian targets had been specifically chosen for maximum psychological impact. Council member after council member, captured during the human campaign, confessing to their roles in the genocide. But the most damning recording came from Chairman Vectar himself, captured by human intelligence services from a classified council meeting held just before the attack on Thesara. The humans and Valeth are becoming too comfortable with each other. His recorded voice explained to the council chamber, their combined technological advancement threatens the balance of power we have maintained for millennia. We must act decisively to remind all species of their proper place in the galactic hierarchy. Another voice, belonging to the Nexari representative, added, total destruction of their homeworld will send a clear message. No species challenges the council without facing extinction. The galaxy listened in horror as their rulers casually discussed the murder of an entire civilization. Species that had lived in fear of the council for generations began to understand that their fears had been completely justified. On Nexus Prime, the Council's ground defenses were failing one by one. Commander Hio Kira's Void Hunters had landed and were systematically capturing key government buildings. Unlike the Council's attack on Thesara, the human assault was precise and targeted. Civilian populations were protected and evacuated. Only military and political targets were destroyed. The Council's private armies, which had never faced serious resistance, found themselves fighting an enemy that had been planning this battle for years. Human soldiers knew every building layout, every security system, every escape route. They moved through the government district like they had been born there. President Rena June's second message to the fleet came as human forces reached the council chamber itself. Admiral Luna, the galaxy is watching. Show them the difference between justice and revenge. We are not here to rule. We are here to ensure that no species will ever again face extinction alone. The Retribution moved into position above the Council's primary military command center. This was the nerve center from which orders for genocide had been transmitted across the galaxy. Its destruction would cripple the Council's ability to coordinate large-scale military operations ever again. Retribution to all ships. Admiral Luna Han broadcast. Target the military command complex. Disable their ability to wage offensive war but leave the civilian government intact. We are liberators, not conquerors. The ship's main weapon charged with a sound like thunder rolling through metal corridors. When it fired, the beam was visible across half the planet. A column of pure energy that struck the command center with the force of a small star. The building that had coordinated 10,000 years of oppression vanished in a flash of light. With it went the Council's ability to threaten any species with extinction. But the humans were not finished. Over the next 6 hours, every military shipyard, every weapons research facility, every training base that had prepared soldiers for wars of conquest was systematically destroyed. The Council's war machine, built over millennia, was reduced to smoking ruins in a single day. When the shooting finally stopped, Chairman Vector found himself standing in his damaged chamber, facing human soldiers with their weapons lowered but ready. Commander Hayo Kira stood before him with recording equipment, just as she had done with so many other council officials. "Chairman Vector," she said formally, "you are under arrest for crimes against sentient life. You will be transported to a neutral world, where you will stand trial before representatives of every species in the galaxy." The chairman looked around at his fellow council members, most of whom had been captured or killed in the fighting. "You cannot do this. The council has ruled for 10,000 years. Without us, the galaxy will fall into chaos." "The galaxy has been in chaos for 10,000 years, Commander Hayo replied. "You just called it order." 6 months later, Admiral Wu Jinu stood in the memorial garden on New Thesara, watching Valeth children play among the flowering trees planted in memory of their lost homeworld. The surviving Valeth had been given this world under Earth's protection, along with the resources to rebuild their civilization. Behind him, human and Valeth engineers worked together on the next generation of defensive technologies. But these were not weapons of conquest. They were tools to protect the free species alliance that had formed in the wake of the Council's fall. "The trials are going well," reported Ambassador Narration, joining him on the garden path. "Vector and his supporters have been found guilty by unanimous vote. The evidence was overwhelming. And the new alliance? Growing every day. 47 species have joined so far, all committed to the principle that no world will ever again face extinction alone." The Admiral nodded, watching a young Valeth child carefully tend a flower that grew in honor of Elder Thalion. The old leader had died in the ruins of the original Thesara, but his memory lived on in this new world where his people could grow and learn in safety. A communication signal beeped from his personal device. Captain Jinlia's voice came through, reporting from somewhere in the outer sectors. "Admiral, this is Shadow Strike.